Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to today's installment of Home Solutions. Dennis Purvis live here in the Mix 104 studio. Hope you're having a fantastic Saturday, and no matter what you're doing, enjoying this little bit of fall in the air, a little bit of crisp weather, at least in the mornings, enjoying that. Got some great weather, it looks like, here for the coming days. So whatever you're out there doing today, maybe you're driving around town this morning listening on the radio, headed out to your friendly neighborhood hardware store to do some check some things off your honey-do list at your house. Thanks for tuning in. Maybe you're streaming online. Maybe you're on the Mix 1041 app, which if you're not, you need to go right now to the App Store and get that downloaded on your phone. Some great information there, including links to Mix TV, My Mix TV, and it's great this high school football season, college football season. You'll see a lot of updates there for those things as well. And for everybody, we'll wave everybody that's on Facebook that's saying hi to us. Thanks for watching. I got a guest today that's been my friend for a long time. Pretty excited to have him here. Love what he does, and I'll kind of talk personally about what that's done for me and my company, but here in just a little bit. But without further ado, the lovely, the talented Jason Jones from Aflac. How you doing, buddy?
Good, Dennis Patrick.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Always fun to see you. I know we're going to always have a good conversation. I know you're going to have good stories for everybody. And, folks, I know, Aflac's become one of those things in our lives that kind of ubiquitous because of their advertising. And they've even got, Nick Saban and Deion Sanders on board now. So there you go. It's not just the duck anymore. But I know a lot of folks maybe not understand what Aflac does. And I know this is a home and garden show, folks, but if you're not around, nothing can, or you get sick or have huge medical expenses, nothing's going to make you possibly fear of losing your home and your garden and everything else you've worked hard for than some sort of unexpected medical. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's the kind of peace of mind that Aflac provides, right?
I would agree. Peace of mind is probably the key phrase to that.
So tell folks, for folks that don't understand, or just what is Aflac, how does it work, and how does it fit if you already have insurance?
Well, that's a unique thing about us is that I kind of start off by telling folks what we are not.
Yeah.
We're not health insurance. We're not car insurance. We're not boat insurance. You used the phrase peace of mind a little bit earlier, and there's a lot of truth to that because it's financial peace of mind. If someone files a claim with Aflac, then we pay them directly. And I can share a story with you that there's hundreds of stories, and I know you've got some of your own with you and your family and your employees. But for example, if you're not able to work or if you're hurt or you're sick, then the insurance gets paid directly to you. And so the story that I was going to share with you is that I was in the hospital about this time last year. Nothing ended up being real serious, but they were a little bit uncertain. And when I left the hospital, they didn't force me to pay the bill before I left the hospital, right?
Yeah.
So it's different in that sense because health insurance pays the doctors in the hospital, right? So you file the claim with your Blue Cross Blue Shield or whoever, or even if you are currently uninsured, then what happens, you leave the hospital, you speak to somebody in the billing department, and you're going to work out some kind of payment arrangement, right?
Absolutely.
But the value in Aflac is that if you go to the grocery store or the gas station and you try to leave without paying, the result's a little bit different, right? Yeah. So I always explain to people, even if you have great health insurance, there's always a cost associated with being sick or hurt.
That's a fantastic point.
It could be co-pays, it could be deductibles, it could be co-insurance, it could be the fact that you missed, 3 hours worth of work because you had to go get your toe x-ray.
Even travel.
Or even travel, that's right. Fortunately, fuel costs seem to be coming down a little bit, but, paying more than $3 a gallon, even if you drive back and forth to Chattanooga a couple of times, there's an expense to do that, right?
Yeah.
So you're missing work. There's fuel expense. A lot of times loved ones will be going with you on those doctor visits, and they're taking time off of work as well. So the value in Aflac is that the money gets paid directly to the policyholder.
And I can tell you the claims that fortunately I haven't had a lot, but the claims I have had for me or my family, folks, when they say that it's paying it directly to you, once the claim is in and approved, it's typically within 2 business days, I've got a deposit in my bank account. You guys even have the option to set up direct deposit when you get into your portal, and they'll take it right and put it right in your bank. So it's something that they what we joke about in the offices with our new hires is people are Aflac it seems like they want to pay the money, right? But we're also conditioned that insurance is trying to everything they can to pay you as least that they can.
Right.
We do a lot. With remodeling, we do a lot of fire and water restoration, and there's so many times where we have to send in supplemental pictures and reports just to get a customer made back whole for the house they live in. With Aflac, you submit the documentation, and it's quick.
That's right.
And they seem to want to pay. And we'll talk about the different policies later, but I can just tell you, this is great for everybody that's listening. It's not just something, there's individual plans you can get Aflac. The first thing I would do is if you do work somewhere, and it's anything we talk about today, I'll have Jason give his contact info in just a minute, but first place you want to start with is probably your employer, wherever you're working, because chances are Aflac's, has become one of the biggest employee benefits in the country.
That's correct.
And there's possibility is the odds are pretty good that you're already you can be offered this at a group rate. So I would definitely check there. But if not, if somebody's or they're self-employed like I am, how do they get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is my cell phone number, which is also my office number and my home phone number.
Oh, yeah, I've got one of those too.
Yeah. It's 423-421-3932. And what I tell folks is if I'm still awake, I answer my phone.
Yeah.
If you send me a text, I generally respond.
Unless the Vols are playing.
Unless the Vols are playing.
Exactly.
We got a good win last
Who calls during a Vols game, right? So Jason, talk a little bit about, because I know we have folks that are listening too, not only for individuals, but if you do own a business, big or small, as far as coming in to talk to somebody's business, how many employees does someone need, or contractors do they need to be able to set up a group plan, to be able to offer some of this? Because I'm telling you, it's right now we're having retention is a big thing that I know me and a lot of my fellow business owners. I know just recently this week, one of our fellow contractors that we partner with a lot, and we have a weekly breakfast we meet, and they were kind of going through the same thing we are. Is it's so hard to find people right now. Everybody's hiring. You're trying to wonder where everyone is that's supposed to be working. That you really want to hang on to the people you have.
Yes.
And offering these kind of benefits, I think is I know it's helped us. We've got people that have been with us, we're just over 3 years old, and we've got people that have been with us from the beginning, and I know every one of those people that has been there has Aflac.
That's right.
And it's something that creates number one, it allows us to show them, hey, we care about you. But number two, it gives them some peace of mind, because a lot of folks these days either are paying way too much for health insurance, or they can't afford any at all, or maybe they've got their kids covered and they've got the basics. But again, what's the process for somebody that's maybe got a business that's listening right now? To what do they need to get set up?
They need people, and we just have to have 3 people participate.
3.
Yep, just 3 people. 3.
Everybody out there hear that? You just need 3 people, and the owner can be one, correct?
That's correct.
There you go.
So what happens with that, it can even be a sole proprietorship.
Yeah.
We cover 1099 contractors if they're with that business. We cover the W-2 employees as well. But like you talked about, the value of this is that we certainly, and I won't be political about it, but we're certainly in unique times as far as the economy goes. I'm still kind of at a loss to figure out why employers are still struggling to find help, because wages are, I haven't done the research, but I feel like wages are probably higher than they've ever been across the board.
I can tell you, I just did payroll yesterday. You are correct.
And so there has to be another piece to the business owner.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's culture.
Yeah.
I know that I've been with you on Monday mornings when you do your team meetings and so forth, and there's a great culture there. But like you mentioned earlier, your employees want to feel like that they're cared about.
Yeah, they want to feel valued too.
That's right. So benefits is a good way to do that, because I know companies still struggle even at $15 and $16 an hour to get people to come in, right? So putting a benefits package together that doesn't necessarily add a cost to the employer, unless they want to contribute to to the employees' premiums, they certainly can do that. And good business owners probably do want to do that, because it's a very affordable way to give people benefits to at least show that you care about them. One of the first accounts that had opened years ago was a construction company, and the guy was contributing, I believe, $20 a week towards their premiums. And the guys
at Aflac, that
gets you a lot.
Listen,
$20 a week will get you a lot.
And for those of you that are listening, let's just go ahead and get that right off the board quick. Aflac, I can tell you that number one, what I love about Jason, what all my guys and gals love about Jason's not a pressure guy. He's not trying. What he asks is, tell me how much you want to spend a week.
That's right.
And he says, think about an hour and a half of your week. Would that be worth it to you? And what's crazy is even the ones that we've had that were like super careful with their money, they don't want anything coming out. Once they've talked to you and saw the value and saw what they could get for $20 a week, for $23 a week, for $17 a week.
Yeah.
And if you're young enough and maybe you don't have any life insurance, you're talking about $5 and $6 a week.
Right. You had a gentleman that you had referred to me yesterday.
Yeah.
I won't talk about his personal stuff, but he was about $23 a week, and he's a younger guy, and he got a lot of coverage.
Yes.
For what he was. When I first gave him the price, he was shocked. He was like, "Well, why wouldn't I do that?"
Yeah, it was less than 1.5 hours a week for him.
Well, sure, because there are a lot of folks that they're conditioned to believe that when they hear insurance, that it's unaffordable.
Listen,
there's a lot of truth to that.
Before you came in, I was talking to Dwayne here at the radio station in Austin, and we were having a conversation about insurance and how, I have insurance, but as being self-employed, to cover me and my daughters, it's close to what my mortgage payment is every month.
Right.
Just to have, and it's good coverage. It's not, it's not a super high deductible, but it's still, there have been years we don't hit it,
right.
So it is crazy right now. Even with the tax subsidies and all the different things. So really, for those of you listening, we say all that to say, kind of recondition yourself a little bit that this, when he says Aflac isn't typical, he isn't lying. It's affordable. They want to pay claims, and they want to help. I mean, that's really all it is to it. And the fact is that it doesn't go through a middleman. It goes directly to you as the customer. Right. So listen, when we come back, we're going to talk about the specific plans that they have and kind of the things they offer. And Jason can tell you some more about that. So Jason, just hang out there with me if you don't mind. And everybody that's listening, don't touch that dial. We'll be back here in just a minute. You're listening to Home Solutions right here on Mix 104.1 and 101.3 The Buzz. Are you tired of going to YouTube or Google for answers to your home improvement questions? Maybe you have more projects than you have time. No matter where you are in the process, Pro 93 Home Solutions is ready to serve you. Pro 93 is a local, veteran-owned company offering residential and commercial remodeling, cleaning, and security. Contact us today at 458-4135 or online at pro93homesolutions.com. Let the pros at Pro 93 find the solution for your home or business. That's 458-4135. Welcome back, everybody, to Home Solutions. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Dennis Purvis here with you, as always, from Pro 93 Home Solutions. And before we get Jason back in on here, let me just give my shameless plug. So we are your local at Pro 93. We're your local general contractor. We do everything from build you a custom house all the way to kitchen and bathroom remodels. We're doing a lot of additions. We've done a ton of basement and garage conversions. Seems like there's a lot of folks that having, a parent having to move back in with them, giving them some living space and some autonomy and some independence. So you've got some unfinished space that you are in that, we would love to come out. We can help you with design. We can help you with plans. We can go through the whole process with you from permit to completion. Give us a call, 458-4135. If you want to schedule an estimate, just call that number, 458-4135. Hit option 1. You'll get Jesse. Jesse, my business partner, will get you scheduled for an estimate. Chris, our estimator, will come out. Doesn't cost you a thing. But even if you're indecisive right now or not really sure how it's all going to work, don't worry about it. We can help you with that. We'd love to come out. And also remember, our clean team, Wendy and our crew, they're ready to come out and do either a recurring service for you or a one-time deep clean. Maybe you're moving in, moving out. Maybe you've just had a construction project at your house and you'd like to get cleaned up from that. Wendy can take good care of you on that. She'll come out, give you a free estimate as well, and get our crew out there. So one more time, that's 458-4135 or pro93homesolutions.com. Should give you a little more detail about what we do, and just hit that contact us button there at the top, and that comes directly to our emails, and we'll get a hold of you forthwith. So there's my shameless plug. Let's get back into the world of Aflac. Jason did a great job before the break talking to us about what it is and what it's not. Kind of the highlights are it's cheaper than you think. They pay you directly when you have a claim. And I can tell you from personal anecdotal experience that they've never held up a claim. They want to pay you. And we'll prove that later when, don't let me forget, Jason, we got to make sure we talk about wellness. Sure. The wellness checks every year. So, but first, Jason, I know one of the, being in our line of work, there's two big ones that our guys and gals love to get from you, but it seems like the accident policy is kind of a big one for you guys. Tell everybody a little bit about what that is and how that works.
Sure. Anybody can have an accident, right?
Amen.
From a small child to a middle-aged person like myself. Don't laugh too hard.
Especially after a Vols game.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A little trip and fall, a little slip and fall. But so a lot of people ask me what qualifies as an accident. And my general answer is, ouch, that hurt. I'm going to go to the doctor or the hospital and let them take a look at it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I use a couple of different scenarios to talk about the accident policy. I dropped a ladder on my toe one time, had on a pair of flip-flops. It really sucked. It was one of those heavy sliding ladders. It slid, fell on the toe. And
I just curled my toes and thought about the cuss words I was going to say, and it didn't even happen to me.
So I know that your company and the radio stations are friends of the direct primary care folks.
Yes.
So that's who I use for my primary care, and I was there seeing the lovely Miss Stacy. And,
yes.
I told her, I said, Stacy, I said, could you take a look at my toe? And she looked at my toe and she said, yep, that looks like it hurt.
Yeah.
But I sought medical attention for it.
Yeah.
There wasn't much they could do for it, but I did seek medical attention for it, and Aflac paid me for that.
Yeah.
Because I took my time to see a doctor for that. I had another scenario where I broke a tooth. Eating a sandwich. It wasn't because of poor hygiene or anything like that, but I broke a tooth. Aflac paid me for that.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of a claim with a young lady that was involved in an automobile accident, and it's paid several $1,000s at this point, just on the accident policy, and she had not filed her claim on the short-term disability because she's been out of work for several weeks now, and we'll talk about the short-term.
Yeah, it's a great segue. You're learning radio really well.
I know,
this is
right?
good.
I got a face for radio.
You got you and me both.
And the last kind of scenario I use is I had a gentleman that fell because the accident policy does pay whether you get hurt on the job or off the job. He fell and it was extremely serious. Ruptured some internal organs, was in the hospital for an extended period of time, and we paid it was a lot of money. It was thousands and thousands of dollars. So the accident policy pays based on the severity of the accident.
Yeah.
The more treatment that you have, the more we pay.
That's what I was going to say and folks, this isn't when you look at your Aflac policy, you know, do they have kind of the legalese stuff? Yeah, every insurance policy does. But what I love about Aflac is they kind of have these charts, you know, these lists where you can literally see just for example, and the amounts I can't remember, but if you get an X-ray, it's this amount. If you get an MRI, it's this amount.
Correct.
If you ended up in a cast with crutches, it's this amount. You know, every one of those things, you can literally, they're not trying to hide it from anybody. They're not trying to make you wonder what it is. It's right there laid out in your policy. And to that, Jason, so you made a good segue there. So the accident policy for a lot of folks can turn into missed time at work.
Correct.
So talk a little bit about, because then I can give a story about one of our guys that this has made all the difference to in the world, was that he had a short-term disability policy.
Right.
But talk about a little bit how it works, how folks can kind of pick what kind of coverage they want on that.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about it.
So speaking specifically with the short-term disability, it's probably the most customizable plan that we have, because it's based on your income, and you get a percentage of your monthly income, and you can do a minimum of $500 all the way up to 60%. So simple math: if you made $1,000 a month, you could draw up to $600 a month of that, right? So go. Anywhere from $500 to $600, but on up. The most that we'll pay out is $6,000 a month if you've got a high enough income. But so you get to choose how much you get paid based on your financial needs. You get to choose how long you get paid. So it could be for a 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month period. That's important because an older person like me, and you're not as old as me, but you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
But sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to recuperate. So if you're young and spry,
especially after a Vols game,
he's going back to the Vols game.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. I see these young kids, and I'm like, we used to be able to do that.
Right.
Yeah, we can't.
But you get to pick how long you get paid. A 20-year-old bounces back quicker than a 50-year-old,
yeah.
Right? So you can choose that policy to pay you for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. It's completely up to you. But you also get to determine how quickly you get paid. Right? And that's what's called an elimination period. And it just simply means, what day do we pay you on? Do we pay you on day one for that accident? Or maybe you've got a little bit of a nest egg and you say, look, you know what, I can afford to go without a paycheck for 2 weeks or 30 days. Let me hold off on that. Because it saves on the premium, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're paying you on day one as opposed to day 14, obviously premiums are cheaper that way.
Yeah.
So it's really customizable in that sense. And so short-term disability is your paycheck. You know, we addressed business owners because 99% of our business is done as an employee benefit, right? As a business owner, if you can't afford to pay people a paycheck when they're not on the job, right?
Yeah,
they may have some sick time, they may have some paid time off, but once that's used up, the employer, as much as your employer may like you, it's a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so, you know, there's some companies that might be able to float you a couple of weeks just to kind of help you get by, but there's not many companies that are going to pay you for 6 months if you're not there, right? So it's your paycheck if you need it.
And I can tell you, one of our guys, one of our project managers, got a diagnosis that wasn't great. Ended up having to have some treatment, have surgery. The good news is the prognosis now is fantastic. However, because of the severity of the treatment and the surgery, you know, he had to be out for months. And luckily, he had a short-term disability policy with Aflac. And that ended up paying him for 6 months.
Right.
And was the difference, you know, his wife was still working, but... And I can tell you this, it wasn't just, the money's in the bank. You know, there's also that emasculating feeling that he went from being the provider of his family, bringing money in every week, to how am I going to do this? And what's funny is that he didn't even think about Aflac at the beginning, and we were I think you and I were talking, I was like, didn't he get a short-term policy? Yeah. And you're like, yeah, I think so. And sure enough, we get and let me tell you the other nice thing. Jason won't say this, and I don't want to put you on the spot, and I don't want to make people think you're going to do this all the time, I guess. But Jason really helped him navigate through the process, just because of the severity of his what he was doing. There's a lot of paperwork involved.
Yes.
And sometimes the hardest part of those bigger things is getting the doctor to cooperate.
It can be challenging.
But Jason kind of got with him. And there's another lady at Aflac that I know had been because she had talked to me a lot and kind of helped navigate the process. So he wasn't trying to do this on his own.
That's right.
And if I haven't thanked you for that, not just as a buddy and as a friend, but thank you for helping him, because for him, it was daunting, you know, and some people, you get to that process. And sometimes I think some of the big insurance folks, they kind of count on that people are just going to quit.
Right.
They say no long enough or throw things at you. And it's not saying that Aflac was throwing, but it was just, you know, you got to coordinate with short-term disability. You got to coordinate your stuff, the employer stuff, and the doctor stuff.
Right.
Most of the time, two out of those three, and I don't want to speak ill of doctors because, yes, direct primary care are buddies, and they are going to be here next week, actually. They're our guests next week. But it's sometimes that's the hardest part of the process.
Right. So, you know, hospitals and doctors' offices, they have a job of taking care of people.
Yeah.
Getting paperwork because they're used to filing their own claims.
Absolutely.
So taking the time to get the paperwork to help somebody sometimes can be a challenge. So I wish that I could take credit for all that, but as an Aflac agent, I decided about 5 years ago to invest in my own business, and I hired a young lady named Michelle, and she is a claims wizard. She is really good at what she does. She understands the medical jargon that sometimes that I don't understand. She's worked as a claims administrator for several of the agents, so she has a very good working knowledge. So sometimes I may pass them off to her because I know they're in better hands as far as like the knowledge part of it goes. But I decided to invest in my business and have somebody that could, because that's the biggest thing. I've run into so many times people say, well, you know, Aflac didn't pay me what they should.
Yeah.
And then I go back and I ask them, and that's interesting enough because we don't have a statute of limitation on our claims. So if something happened 3 years ago, I can go back and help them. So I will go back and help them get the documentation. And what happens, not all the time. I mean, Aflac's a big company. Sometimes they make mistakes, and sometimes the agent might have oversold what the policy may or may not do. But a lot of times it's as simple as missing documentation.
Yeah.
Getting
the right piece of paper.
I had a gentleman a couple of weeks ago, and I was doing a presentation to the company, and he was not happy with Aflac at that point because it didn't pay what he thought it should pay, and he's right. But it was missing some documentation. We ended up paying him about $800 on something that happened 3 years ago.
I bet he's going to be a little different next time you go in there.
So the reason I share all that is to say, you mentioned this before, Aflac does want to pay claims. Yeah. Aflac can afford to pay claims.
And listen, we've got just about 30 seconds toward the top of the hour. So let me tell you a couple things. We talked about short term. We talked about accident. There's also life. There's cancer policies. There are dental, vision, supplemental policies.
Yes,
that you guys have.
And the hospital policy has been pretty big.
And the hospital policy. So, folks, no matter what it is that you're looking at, chances are you're going to run into one of those things in your life. And I can tell you from experience. If you want to get paid directly, you want to have a company and an agent that cares. Jason and Aflac they tick every box. Jason, real quick before we get out of there, how they get a hold of you real quick.
423-421-3932.
Man, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, man. Listen, you guys, hope you have a fantastic week. Thanks for listening today. Remember, take care of your family, love your neighbor, and we're all in this together. We'll see you next week. You've been listening to Home Solutions right here on Mix 104.1 and 101.3 The Buzz.